Space junk could cause a hole in their helmet or suit, and then we know what would happen, okay? So
yeah, they would go blah, they would blow up. Reapers, what is good? It's your boy Laser. He's back with another scary reaction video. He's loving the scary content. So continue to live. He has written the top 10 dark things astronauts are afraid of in space. Guys, there's so many crazy ass things that happen in space. We're diving straight into it. If you enjoy scary content, he has more scary videos like the feature. It's please like button. Here's subscribe to the notification bell icon. Stream every night on Twitch. Go check stream. It's fucking amazing. Let's dive straight into this video.
of the 7 billion people on this planet, only 530 have been in orbit, which is pretty insane to think about. Astronauts must be incredibly brave, right? I mean, they are shot out of our world into foreign territory where a number of
See, the one thing, dude, I'm not gonna lie, like, being an astronaut seems fun as fuck. It's just like like, it's just crazy to think that, like, one problem with the rocket ship and I go, blah.
Things could go wrong. Today, let's take a look at what astronauts fear the most. From burning up during re-entry to floating off alone in space. Let's talk about this and more only in today's video. Hey everyone, what's up?
She's probably the best host when it comes to this channel, bro. All the other ones be fucking annoying as shit.
And welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, 𝐿, and today I'm bringing you the video Top 10 Dark Things Astronauts Are Afraid of in Space. But before we get into today's list, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, which is G2A.com. If you love gaming, unbeatable prices, and great steals and deals, then G2A.com is the place for you. G2A.com is the place to go if you want to get video games.
By the way, I might buy myself some fangs, bro. I might start having like using like fangs for my videos, because like I am a vampire. Like I already know in the future, like if you're new to my channel, I already talked about how I'm gonna definitely, like, if I blow up in the future, I'm gonna be a fucking model, bro, and I'm gonna fucking be a vampire. Like I already know that's gonna be like my trademark model style. Like I'm gonna have just fangs in my mouth, bro. I've always thought being a vampire is cool as shit.
Gaming consoles, tabletop games, gaming accessories, collectibles, and more for unbeatable prices. Don't wait for Black Friday. G2A has big sales all year round. Like they have sales up to 90% off. What? Pinch me. Check out this week's sale. Now, as someone that does a fair share of gaming myself, G2A.com has been my site to go to. I personally love their selection of horror games. Make sure to check the link in the description to unlock a site full of amazing products for unbelievable prices. Starting off this countdown, we have the fear of the unknown. During an interview with astronaut Chris Hadfield, he said that the thing he feared the most about going into space was the fear of the unknown, because anything can go wrong at any time. Plus, no matter how much you prepare, there's no way you can prepare for everything that could go.
Like, that's the thing about space, bro. It's like, it's the idea that like the idea that we're either alone, I say this all the time, the idea that we're alone or that there's life out there, they're both equally terrifying. Like the idea that we're literally alone in this infinite expanding universe, fuck that shit.
Go wrong, because you don't know everything that can go wrong. Plus, astronauts are miles away from home with limited supplies and contact. They're pretty much on their own to save themselves if anything does go wrong. So it's the fear of not knowing what's to come that
It's crazy how like we want to fucking explore space, bro. Bro, we haven't even finished exploring our own fucking planet, bro. We haven't even explored the entire fucking ocean yet. We've only explored like what, 20% of it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be completely for real. Like when I say it's like, I don't want to be like that party pooper, bro, but I feel like there's low-key nothing that interesting about space. Like, I'm going to be completely for real. Like, I know the space, like, might be infinite, but I'm going to be completely for real. I feel like there's actually, like, probably nothing interesting out there. I'm going to be completely for real. I honestly believe there's nothing interesting out there. I feel like it's just an infinite, like, you know, a bunch of boring-ass planets we never discovered, all that shit. I know there's, like, some planets, like Earth out there. I'm going to be completely for real. Like, I want to believe there's life out there, but at the same time, I don't fucking know. I feel like we low-key might actually... Nah, there's definitely something out there. I don't know. But I feel like there's nothing, like, crazy interesting. I feel like our ocean has some interesting ass shit we haven't seen yet, you know what I'm saying?
Terrifies them. In our 9th spot, we have space junk. Obviously, space is filled with floating space objects, but also tons of man-made junk, like debris from old satellites, rocket ship pieces, lost equipment, you name it. It said that there are 28 million pieces of space debris floating around up there. That's about 6,000 tons of space debris. On top of that, each piece flies around at 18,000 1,000 miles per hour. At any second, debris could crash into the astronauts' spacecraft and wipe them out. In fact, it's said that even tiny paint flecks can damage a spacecraft when traveling at these velocities. Imagine what anything larger could do. So space junk is certainly something astronauts fear. I mean, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would be way too paranoid. In our 8th spot, we have loss of communication. When astronauts are in space, they rely on ground control to help them out. Ground control plays a critical part in the space mission.
Buddy, we're flying up to space. Yo, what's up, buddy? Hold on, I gotta fap in space real quick. And the line cuts off.
Success. They make sure that everything goes as planned and that the craft stays on course. So imagine how frightening it would be to all of a sudden lose contact with them. Astronauts are then left alone just floating through space. They then would have to manually fly their spacecraft home. Astronauts have lost connection a couple of times, but it's only been for a couple of hours. Moving on to number 7, we have the toxic atmosphere. According to NASA astronaut Drew Morgan, he is worried about space's toxic atmosphere. He admitted to this on social media when responding to a comment that read, "What is the biggest and most terrifying thing astronauts fear about being in space?" There are a number of things in space that make it so deadly for astronauts. For starters, exposure to space can cause embolism, hypoxia, and hypocapnia. Not only that, but astronauts can get sick from being on the moon. When the Apollo astronauts returned from the moon,
So, like, what happens when you take your helmet off? Like, is it true that your face just shrivels up? Like, I know, like, you can't breathe, but, like, what actually happens if you take your helmet off in space? That's serious.
They got sick off of the moon dust on their spacesuits. It made their throats sore and eyes water. The particles are so fine, but sharp like glass. In fact, it said that, and I quote, "Particles 50 times smaller than a human hair can hang around for months inside your lungs. The longer the particle stays, the greater the chance for toxic effects." But there are so many other things in space that can have a negative impact on the astronauts, like exposure to UV rays and radiation, which can cause cell mutation. Also, there's no pressure in space. The lower the pressure, the lower a liquid's boiling point is. But since in space there is no pressure, the boiling point can easily drop to an astronaut's body temperature, meaning their blood and other liquids in their body would start to boil. Not a pleasant way to go, that's for sure. In our 6th spot, we have the depressurization. Astronaut Drew Morgan claims that astronauts are also scared of depressurization. He said, and I quote, "There's always the possibility that we could depressurize or that a hole could be punctured by a micrometeoroid or something and we could leak our atmosphere overboard." So let's say that an astronaut was exposed directly to the vacuum of space. Since space doesn't have atmospheric pressure, the astronaut's lungs will expand and burst. After that, the water in their soft tissues will vaporize, causing their whole body to swell up. Then bubbles would form in the veins, blocking blood flow, and the astronaut's bowels, bladder, and stomach will explode.
Oh no! Guys, I think I drank too much of my own piss earlier. Crazy how my piss testicles are about to pop. Alright, here we go.
Expelling their contents. But don't worry, the astronaut would die from loss of oxygen first before all of that happens. Still, it's terrifying to think of. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with getting sick. In space, there's no hospitals, there's no nurses, there's no doctors. So if you get sick or injured, you're on your own. You need to rely on your crew members to help you out. This is another fear for astronauts, getting sick while in space or seeing their crew get sick while in space. Also, if one person gets sick somehow, chances are others will too. Space is a pretty germy environment. When a person sneezes on Earth, the snot particles shoot out about 3 to 6 feet, and then gravity knocks them out of the air into the floor. But in space, there's no gravity, so if an astronaut sneezes or coughs, it's lingering in the air for their companions to breathe in and enjoy. As a result, sickness or diseases can spread really fast. Another fear they have is dying in orbit, because A, that would suck, and B, what are the crew members supposed to do with the astronaut's dead body?
Fuck it. Don't lie, we all fuck our dead corpses.
They'll be stuck living beside it for days until they return home. Has to be traumatizing.
No, like, how do they, like, actually, like, throw up? Well, I mean, I know they probably have some, like, trash, but I don't know. Dude, throwing up in space, that's gotta be weird as fuck. That's gotta be so uncomfortable, because, like, the gravity in, like, your body, like, the vomit's gonna, like, float around in your body. That's... Like, how does that affect, like, how does your system change when, like, you're in space? Because I know, like, you know, when you eat food in space, it's, like, it goes weird through the body. I don't fucking know.
Moving on to number 4, we have the mechanical failures. This is another fear that Chris Hadfield brought up that's common among astronauts, and that's fear that they will experience some sort of mechanical failure or defect, whether that be during liftoff, while in orbit, docking, or re-entry. I mean, there have been a number of disasters already, like the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. In 1986,
Yeah, this is exactly why I fucking... The one thing I would fear about being an astronaut. Like, just the idea that the rocket ship decides to go blah one day. Like, literally, like, it just explodes for no reason.
Space Shuttle Challenger...
Well, not for no reason, there was a reason, but it's like, these fuckers literally just, like, went on a rocket ship not knowing they were about to blow to pieces.
broke apart.
And I think the worst part about it was, like, the people nearby literally saw, like, body parts, like, come down. Fucking nasty as shit.
73 seconds into the flight. As a result, the shuttle
It's like with the fucking submarine.
broke down over the Atlantic Ocean, and all 7 crew members on board lost their lives. This was due to a failure of the O-ring seal in the right solid rocket booster. In space, if their spacecraft fails or if their systems malfunction, they're pretty much screwed, so no one can come out there to save them. Moving on to number 3, we have floating off into space. Although it's never happened to any astronauts so far, it's a very real fear that astronauts have. And hey, I don't blame them. Anyways, if astronauts spacewalk, they have to tether themselves down. If those tethers fail, oh boy, they're drifting out into space. No matter how much they kick or flail their arms, it won't bring them back to the shuttle. Now, NASA does have these emergency jetpack things that can help fly them back to safety. But if the fuel runs out, they're in trouble. They'll be floating around for 7.5 hours until their breathable air runs out. Or until they get hit by space junk and die. Or the space junk could cause a hole in their helmet or suit, and then we know what would happen, okay? So
yeah, they would go blah, they would blow up.
I can see why astronauts are afraid of getting separated from the spacecraft and floating away. Moving on to number 2, we have the
Just floating in like an infinite, like, the idea of just floating away to your death, fuck that.
re-entry. So let's say everything goes fine. Takeoff was a success, the crew survived orbiting space and landing on the moon. Now the only thing they have left to do is come back home. You'd think that they would be excited, you know, to be back home, eating normal food and, you know, being where gravity is.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing a fucking video on this shit. Like, apparently fucking astronauts, like, when they come back from space, they have issues, like, I think there's something about the body, like, the body, it like, acts weird, like, when you go back from space. Like, I remember seeing these videos of, like, these astronauts passing out, like, all that shit. Like, it, like, something about, like, leaving space and re-entering Earth, like, it does something to your body. And, like, yeah, I remember passing out, all that shit.
Turns out returning home is something that they fear, and that's because they could burn up or get destroyed.
Well, this isn't what I was meaning, but, like, I remember seeing videos of, like, astronauts returning back from space, and, like, they had, like, issues and shit. They would pass out and all that fucking
upon re-entry. This happened in 2003 with the Columbia Space Shuttle. Upon re-entering Earth's atmosphere, the shuttle started to disintegrate. Sadly, all 7 crew members on board lost their lives. And now, if they do manage to survive re-entry, they gotta worry about landing safely instead of just crashing down full speed into the ground. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the catastrophe. Honestly, I never even thought about this, but according to Chris Hadfield, some astronauts are afraid of a huge catastrophe occurring on Earth while they're off the planet. Now you might think, hey, that's good, at least you weren't on the planet to witness it, but hello, that means that Earth is now in ruins and their loved ones are dead. Who's gonna be alive and at NASA helping them navigate back home?
Yeah, man.
Chances are, nobody, so they would be stuck in space, just orbiting around until they run out of supplies. And even if they did somehow re-enter Earth successfully, they're coming back home to nothing. And that's a pretty dark thing to think about. Alright guys, that's all for today's video.
Well guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Which one of those astronaut cases was most scary to you? Usually scary content isn't more scary videos that features into do. I'll see you next one. Peace!
Money.